All righty. Well, thanks so much, Bob, Chris, and Carlos for being here. Just an intro summary. This panel of entrepreneurs, they're all seasoned in securing business funding and leveraging investments for growth. They're going to provide invaluable insights into financial strategies essential for business success. So we're going to learn how to effectively utilize business credit to bootstrap your startup, build and maintain strong business credit, and manage cash flow. So you're going to discover different credit options and strategic uses for scaling operations. And we've got, yeah, it's all three right there. Chris again. So we'll welcome him back. Chris is an authentic leader, passionate about empowering business leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals across industries. He overcame personal struggles, including 12-year addiction. He has found success as a sales leader and investor. Chris shares his experience to help others achieve extraordinary success by aligning well-being and health. His mission is to guide others in experiencing true success in both business and personal life. For 24 years, Chris has been a professional speaker at leading industry B2B and B2C conferences, companies, and entrepreneurial events worldwide. He's also a successful business acceleration strategist and executive coach, helping small to mid-sized companies scale in sales, revenue, and profit. And Carlos Siqueira is back today. He's an unstoppable force committed to catalyzing positive change and transforming lives on a global scale. As a dynamic author, top-ranked motivational speaker, growth catalyst, podcast host, wealth strategist, and business acceleration expert, Carlos is on a relentless quest to impact 1 billion lives. With a proven track record of guiding CEOs, coaches, and everyday individuals from startups to Fortune 100 giants like Xfinity, Carlos has been instrumental in generating billions in revenue through his visionary strategies. His passion for growth fuels his mission to share invaluable insights on scaling business revenues, getting paid to speak on stages, leadership development, emotional intelligence, sales acceleration, and high-performance habits. Carlos empowers individuals to overcome obstacles and tap into their boundless potential, delivering rapid and sustainable results. And then we've got Bob Honadel today, who is the president and CEO of Honadel Professional Services. He is dedicated to empowering small and medium-sized businesses by providing access to the country's best loan programs. His approach not only offers funding from 10K to 50 million, but also educates and guides businesses to thrive in today's competitive landscape. Through a network of 120 commercial lenders who compete for your business, Bob ensures only the top 3 offers are presented, keeping you in control. With his innovative free business success scan, companies can quickly explore 16 alternative lending options and apply confidently without impacting their credit. And beyond financing, Bob helps businesses build strong credit through his cutting-edge SaaS system, setting them up for long-term growth. His mission goes beyond securing funding due to Bob being passionate about equipping business owners with tools and knowledge that they need to succeed. So thank you guys for being here today and giving your amazing knowledge and experience and insights. And to just kind of jumpstart this panel, I'd love to ask, how do you guys identify the right type of investor for your business, whether it's angel investors, venture capitalists, or utilizing business credit? How do you know what's the first right step to take for you as a business owner?
In particular order, Sophia, or do you want us to just randomly answer?
Yeah, you can randomly answer, but maybe Chris, if you want to start.
Sure. Sure. Well, for me, when I was raising capital back for my company back about 20 years ago, and now what I do when I work with startup clients and helping them to raise capital, a lot of times you got to really be very clear on, obviously, your audience, you know what you're looking to do, you know what the challenge that you're looking to solve, you know what the results you're looking to generate. Now, first impression is last impression. So you have to make sure that you're also interviewing the right investors for your business. And I know in the beginning, a lot of times, hey, whoever's wanting to invest in my company, I'll take it, But sometimes you got to be cautious about that because you don't want to just be working with anybody. And I always find that when you could go out there and interview those investors like they're interviewing you, you're more likely to find I'm not going to say it's going to be a perfect match, but a better match. So a lot of times, you want to look at, who you are, what's your personality, who are the people that, you're looking to attract into working in your business, on your board. Now, again, we don't want the same people, right? We know if I'm gonna have board members, I'm gonna want people with different personality types, things that are gonna leverage my weaknesses and obviously capitalize on their strengths. So when I'm looking for an investor, I want to make sure that again there's going to be an alignment to what we're looking to do to make a difference. We want to get an alignment in a shared value or values. So values can mean different things for different people. Like for me, I'm very highly transparent. Now, I'm not going to go out there from a business perspective and share every little thing. No, I don't want to be that open, but I'm going to be transparent of where I am. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to stretch the truth. I'm going to be transparent just to give enough what is necessary and what we have to do move forward. So I'm going to be looking for people that are going to have similar shared traits. I also want to make sure that they're going to have different things that they can bring to the table that could help us, that could offset whatever a weakness is in what we're looking for. Perhaps they're going to want to get involved in some way if they make an investment, as long as they can definitely serve us. Now, I don't want to get somebody involved that I know that can't help us, because that could also be a nightmare in a way. I've seen that happen where somebody brought in an investor, and now that investor is kind of breathing down that founder's back each and every day, each week, each month. And these are the things that can actually get in the way and hinder progress. So for me, it is a screening process, right down to values, right down to what's important to that investor, what's important to us, what's important to the people that we're serving, so we can find that type of alignment. And I want to make sure that again, the investor sees the bigger picture, not just short-term gain. Right now, I want to make sure that when I bring an investor, I don't want to give any equity away at that point, because we don't know each other that well, unless that investor can definitely position us for fast success and get us to where we want to be in a quicker way, then maybe. But again, I see the mistake that a lot of times people will be looking for the money only and be giving away a certain percentage of equity up front, which is the biggest mistake that you can possibly make in a startup. So there's a lot of factors. I just wanted to kind of put that out there for now. I'm sure Bob and Carlos will share some great insights, and then I'll circle back up if there's anything else I have to need to add to that.
Thank you. Yeah, super valuable. I think it is important. You need to really align with them, because I've heard so many horror stories from my friends about having investors that, breathing down their neck, and they started their business to enjoy it, and then they start to hate it because now they have someone micromanaging them and checking in every day. So yeah, very important. And how about you, Bob? What are your thoughts?
Well, from my end, all right. Chris and Carlos probably have more experience in this on the VC side, the pre-seed side, and stuff like that. What I've found is since COVID, it's hard. It almost doesn't exist. There is so many. I mean, banks used to be part of this. Banks have pulled out of this. Okay, so banks are not part of this anymore. So looking for these investors and stuff are very, very tough. And I agree with Chris 100%. You don't want to give up all this equity in your company. I mean, people don't realize it. I talk to people that have been through this, and they get to the end, they go to sell their company, and they own about 8% of their company when they go to sell. I mean, it's scary where this thing goes. So you want to be well prepared up front, making sure you have the capital you need to start your business or do what you do. And I come from a different angle. I come from the angle of, we're going to build your business credit up front, all right, so that you can go get the loans that you need when you need the money you need, and work from that angle. So it's the biggest miss, I think, on every business that starts up, is that nobody has capital, everybody bootstraps, and everybody gets themselves in trouble right out of the gate. And then they think the bank is going to come rescue them. They go to the bank and they found out that they have no credit whatsoever. All right. They don't have any backing, no credit, because they didn't know how to get it. And that's because, in the US here, only 6% of all the companies report good credit. And if they're not reporting good credit, you're not getting trade lines. No trade lines, no credit, no loans. So that's kind of where I see this whole thing. This is I really think Carlos probably has a lot of good stuff to say here too, but this is more from a Chris and Carlos standpoint. I'm here from a standpoint to just help people and say, look, pay attention to what you're doing when you start. Make sure you have the cash to get your program going. So that's my biggie.
Yeah, I'll share some back end after Carlos talks what Bob shared there because he touched on a great point, and I'll piggyback after Carlos.
Perfect.
No, man, great stuff, guys. Great stuff as always. Bringing the heat. Happy Saturday, everybody. Shout out to everybody here and Sophia for day 2, rocking and roll. But yeah, guys, I often talk about, right, it's a great question, right? Because identifying the right investor for your business or startup is about much more than just securing capital. I want you guys to really think about this, right? It's about finding that person like a partner that aligns with your vision, with your values, and that growth trajectory that you seek. I often, like to start with a question. Yesterday, Chris and I, we were talking a lot about business growth. And you guys know, I believe I talk about a framework, LAT, which is to listen more, ask more questions, and tell me more. So think about this question when you are raising fund and looking to raising fund for your business. What kind of support do I need beyond funding? Okay, one more time. What kind of support do I need beyond funding? Because see, what this would do is going to now expand, right? Because this could include industry expertise, marketing sites, connections that will accelerate your growth. You often hear Chris and I talking about compressing the sales cycle. How can we compress decades into years and years into months? So now you don't need a large following. You don't need to have a book. You don't need to have all this stuff. You can literally have a few hundred people that support you, your true raving fans, your apostles, your Avengers, that you can now get out there and seek funding for people that are in alignment. You don't want to take money from a jerk and now be a slave to that person and having to report to that person and be on you, right? You want somebody that you do your homework. You are making sure that that person's past investments is in alignment to what you do, your values, and the trajectory that you are seeking for your growth. I'm over here in Silicon Valley for 20 plus years, and people fly in from around the world, and they come and pitch in, some of my friends and I was, blessed to early on put some money on Facebook and Uber and some of these companies over here, and we made some decent money, which we helped many causes down in South America and Brazil, which is dear to my heart, helping people that are facing hunger and some of those things. But that's the biggest thing. Ultimately, is the right investor, guys, is a partners that see your success as their own. Somebody that's, straighting the expectations for appreciation. It's somebody that's going to be there for you in the good days and the bad days. And it's not going to pressure you. It's not going to be on your case. You know what I mean? They don't just back you financially. They back your journey. They know it's a win-win for everyone who is involved. I'll leave it as that, and I'll pass the baton back to Chris as he want to add a few points.
Yeah, I mean, Bob and Carlos touched on some really good points. And, one of the things that when you're out there also looking for an investor, you want to be prepared. And what I mean by prepared, and I've seen this a lot with younger people, millennials, even Gen Z, they don't like to put together what we call the old-fashioned business plan, right? I'm old school about business plans. Why? Because I want to know where I am and where I'm going. And you have to know that in your business, because if you're going to now articulate that to another person or people, investors, that's got to be clearly depicted through what we call the presentation deck or the investor deck. And what a business plan does is it allows you to really get really clear on who are you serving. You have to understand who your audience is. And here's the thing. A lot of people who start businesses, they assume what they think their audience is looking for and what they're going to buy. That is the biggest mistake. And I can tell you a savvy investor will pick up on that very quickly. And when they start poking holes with certain questions and you can't answer it with ahs and ums and kind of looking around searching for that answer, that's going to be, they're gone at that point. So you have to be really prepared. You have to do a market study, an audience segmentation analysis. You have to really understand what is your audience's challenges that can be better. What are the results they seek and don't have? You got to understand the industry. Where's the void? You got to show evidence of this. So these are the things with that preparation, when you can now take that business plan right down to the financial projections of what that business is going to look like, even though you have no money right now coming in. That's the things that are going to help you to prepare really an impressive presentation deck to deliver. It's kind of like a story, like just like a Hollywood film will tell a story, the hero's journey, so to speak. In a way, we're kind of doing that in the investor deck. And this is the things that are going to connect on those shared values that we talked about earlier. And then what Bob mentioned about, building credit and all that. Because sometimes some of these people that are starting these companies might have good credit on the personal side. They may not. But when you have a business plan that can now then prepare an effective and compelling investor deck, an executive summary, those are the things that are going to help you in helping you align with the right investors, including, again, doing that assessment and interviewing to make sure you have the right investors. And as Bob mentioned earlier before, there is, if you could shoestring it, wonderful. That's even better. But we at some point we are going to need an infusion of money in order to now get us to the next level. And as Bob mentioned, that's where credit is going to be impactful. And investors are more likely to invest in startups that are already generating some type of revenue. And based upon your financial projections in your business plan, that will dictate if they now feel secure based upon your confidence that they're willing to invest in that dream, that vision that they can see that can turn out as a good payout for them down the road. But there could be a lot of different angles here. But nonetheless, that preparation is key for your business. Not only good for you, but good for creating a connection with potential investor, and it's also going to be necessary, as Bob mentioned, because it's harder these days to secure capital. And when you have a plan, that can also give you sometimes that edge as well. So very, very important. So I wanted to put that out there.
Love that. So many valuable tips. And just for everyone listening too, the reason I really am passionate about this panel is because I'm going through a lot of what they're sharing here, where it's like, I need, you grow your business and you're bootstrapping, but then you keep putting your profits back into growth. And you do start to realize at some point, like, what am I doing? Maybe I need an investor, but then I heard so many horror stories from my friends. And so, then the next option is business credit, but business credit is also a little scary if you don't know about it. So that kind of branches into my next question. What are the most effective ways for entrepreneurs to bootstrap their startups using business credit, and what are some of the common pitfalls that people should be aware of when they're looking into this?
You want me to start this one?
Me?
Sure, I can start this one if you like. So from a startup standpoint, most people when they get started, if this goes all the way back to, hey, from a standpoint of starting a company, you see there's a lot of solopreneurs out there, and if you're a solopreneur, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to get somebody to stand behind you. So you're going to have to go out first of all, and you're going to have to either become an LLC, an S corp, a corp, or something to get yourself started, and you're going to have my recommendation at that point, of course, you're going to have an EIN number at that point to get yourself started. And that's what you want to build your company on. And everybody out there, I guess, doesn't really understand that part of the business. Even when I started my business, I guess I didn't really understand that either, because I sit here with a great personal credit score, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go start this company. I'm going to get it going, everything else. And I run to the bank just like everybody else. You open up a checking account, right? Hey, you want a credit card? They give you a credit card. They get you started, and you're going out there and you're charging things. You're like, I'm building credit. I got this going. I'm going to be able to go get a loan when I need it or whatever. And then when your cash flow gets a little bad, like Ms. Fia said, right? So now you need some money. You run to the bank and they say, let me check that. And they look and they say, geez, you don't have any credit at all, right? None, zero. And the reason why is because that credit card, okay, they gave you wasn't a business credit. It says it's a business credit card, but it has your name on it, okay? And if it has your name on it, guess what? It's a personal card. So anything on that thing, something happens to your company, you're paying it back. All right. And what we do, or what my group does, is we partner and we work to move you to a credit card. That's the long-term goal here, is to get you to a point where everything isn't on your EIN and nothing's on your personal anymore. So the goal is to get off your personal. So what happens when you get off your personal? Because when you're on your personal, what are you doing? Every time you're borrowing money, every time you're doing things, you're killing your credit score. Your credit score is going down. It's going down. It's going down. And, I get people that show up at 650, 550, right? And your credit score, should be up in their high 700s, even low 800s, to be able to doing this. When you get to that stage, you're now to already alternative funding. You're not going to get any top funding, loans at that particular point. So you're at a higher rate of what your funding is going to cost. It's going to cost you more money and stuff to be able to do things. So, in the beginning, the most important thing is to build business credit. The issue is, what's business credit, right? Does anybody know? I mean, so what we've done is we put together a SaaS system. We've made it very, very easy for people. So what they can do, it's just like you apply for a loan. You can go up to my website and click on do a free business scan. It's 2 or 3 pages of information. It's not a lot of stuff. But basically what happens is we then, after you push your scan, send you a username, password, and a link to our site so that you can log on. And guess what? Now you're on a site that shows you what some of this business credit is. And it'll show you what you have and what you don't have. And it's really quick to find out you don't have much. Okay. You really don't have much. And it's right from the start. It's, people don't think about this, but you go open your company and did you put a comma before your LLC? Because when you go to a bank, right, to go get a loan, when they decline you, they don't need to tell you why. So it could be just as something simple as that, or something as simple as, hey, are you registered with 411? And there'll be people sitting out there going, what's 411? I'm old, I know, right? 411's information, and your company needs to be registered to it. Is your business phone your cell phone? Well, that's another denial. Is your company not brick and mortar? So you're using your home address or a PO box or something like that. Guess what? Another denial. So there's probably 120 of these. And what we do is part of our business credit building program. And the best time to do it is when you first start as a company, right? Is start building this right from the beginning. So you jump in, build this credit, and then there's always money available for you as you go. And then you're going to be dealing with, you can go back to the banks, you can get loans from them, you can do things that you couldn't do, so that's what you want to do when you want to get started. You want to start with your business credit right up front. And if you want to learn about business credit, go up to my site, do that, right? There's no obligation, there's no anything at that point, but it will give you a lot of information in regards to what you need to build your business credit. And then I'm always available. Connect with me on LinkedIn, connect me, set up an appointment. Be more than happy to talk to you about it. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help every small business. You know what? One quick thing. Small businesses 10 to 15 years ago were 55% of the GDP in the country. Okay. They were the lifeblood of the economy, right? They employed more people than anybody. In this last 10, 15 years, it's reduced to 45%. All right. That's a big pain. We hear about unemployment all the time and things like that. And if we don't catch this and fix it, all right, it's not going to be a good thing. So I'm here to help. 600,000 small businesses go out of business every year. Think about that. 365 days, that's over 1,600 today went out of business. All right. Tomorrow we'll go out of business every single day. So you don't need to do that. And it's most of them bootstrap. And most of them do all the things that we all do because nobody knows what business credit really is. So we started something. We're hoping we can get it out there and help as many people as we possibly can. So I hope that's helpful.
I can elaborate unless Carlos, you want to go, and I can elaborate.
Go ahead, Chris, and I can go after you.
Sure. So Bob made some really great points, and I want to reiterate again why it's so important for preparation. Now, all of you are going to have different types of businesses. Okay. So let's say you have a business that you have a patent pending, or now you have a patent for some disruptive technology. That patent has value. Okay, so maybe you invested yourself into that patent. Patents aren't cheap, but maybe you invest. See, now, even without any income or no revenue coming in at all to the business at this point, that patent has value, meaning that if you have a valuation done for your business by a professional that does that, and I can help in that area if required, that is also going to help you, in essence, to raise capital. In this case, whether if it's going to be through a loan at a bank, an SBA loan, or whatever that may be, if you're raising capital through investors, that type of thing. That's very important. Now, some of you might be on here saying, well, I don't have a patent. I'm not sure what my valuation is. Well, right now, in order to determine that, this is why you have to do a plan. Because if you don't do a plan, it's just all it is. It's like, it's a wish. It's like, yeah, I think this is going to work. It sounds like a great idea, but then there's nothing behind it to show that how it's going to work to make that happen. And again, a savvy investor will pick up that very quickly. So what's going to be very important too is when we talk about money here, we also got to know whoever's providing that money to us, they're going to want to know what it's being used for. Okay. So what is it? Well, everyone's going to say, well, marketing. I'm going to go out there and do Facebook ads, and I'm going to be advertising, and I'm going to be throwing everything. Well, that sounds great. But again, getting back to what I talked about earlier, if you don't know your audience, or you just assume what their audience, that stuff ain't going to work. And you're going to burn through that money very, very quickly. And you're going to have someone who's going to be very upset, that investor, that's going to pull any remaining money that they were hoping to put into moving forward. So with that being said, you got to really understand what is needed. Do you have to build out your infrastructure? Do you have to maybe bring in certain types of people that are going to help to make, really start moving this idea, which is now an idea, and actually into something that can start generating revenue, that could be bringing in certain people. Maybe there's going to require certain types of technology that are going to be involved in order to do it. So again, it really depends on the business. But you have to really understand all these key areas, whether if you're doing it on your own or you're bringing in certain people like consultants like us that can help you to determine what those things are. So that way, when you're now earmarking where money has to go in order to make these things happen, they're going to know that you know what you're doing. And that's going to be very, very important. So again, I would always consider you got to really do your homework up front to identify these areas where money is going to be required to now get your business off the ground to scale it. You have to also know where your valuation is. Sometimes, again, your business can be worth something even before you get out of the gate, and you've even produced even a nickel at that point. So again, don't be afraid to utilize services that can help you, and so you're not guessing. And these are the things that are going to help position you for opportunities to raise funds moving forward.
Awesome stuff, Chris and Bob, as always. Great insights, guys. And I had a few more things to it here, guys, because bootstrapping and securing fund, that can be very challenging, as some of you guys might be encountering right now. So you have to think about, you got to be you guys know me, I'm very tactical, right? Sometimes you guys have very limited resources, but here's a few things that I want you guys to think about. You want to start lean and you want to test the market, right? Begin with like a lean business model. Think about, like, I often talk about MVP, right? You want to launch a minimal viable product for you to test it out in the market, gather some data before you go on and spend a whole bunch of money, borrow money, get lines of credit. Because when you test it first and you gather data and you know that your product, your service works, now you have something that works. Now you can talk about your clients before and after you. Now you have a model that you can now, okay, great. I tested this idea. I have my MVP, my minimal viable product. It's tested. I got the data. Remember yesterday, right? Where did I had you guys a hello? When did you decide to handle me cash? Ask these questions to your clients. Understand those pinpoints because now you got plenty data, you tested, you're confident, you know it works, you're putting it out there, video endorsements, you showcase to the whole world. Boom, that's the first thing. Number two, right? You want to tap into your own personal savings and credit because a lot of us, you can start, you can bootstrap from very little and you start it before you go out there and raising funds and handle a portion of your company like Chris and Bob brought up over here earlier to others. And many people, they come to Chris and I whenever we are doing consulting and we're speaking on stages and they want to give all this crazy percentage. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Who are you talking to? Who's educating you? Right? Just hold up. I'm about to save you some cash here. Big time. Again, because you have to, like I said earlier, you got to understand when you go raise money from these people, okay, which companies are they investing money? One of my very close friends, founder of Constant Contact, he sold it, over $1 billion. He loves investing in tech companies. If you come to him for something other than tech, he's going to say no, right? So when you understand, okay, I'm in front of a VC, I'm a billionaire, and now I need to raise some funds. Okay, do you know what does this person love to invest into? Do you know? Are you following this person on social media? Are you commenting profound comments on their post? Not Chat GPT and all this BS that everybody else is doing, because you guys know the drill. If you do what everybody else is doing, you're going to get the results what everybody else is getting. You heard the numbers by Bob. 1,600 gone today. 1,600 gone tomorrow. You must do what others don't do, can't do, and won't think of doing. You got to be tactical, guys. If you just go one more day, one more post, one more ask to raise that fund, your competitors will quit. You saw the numbers and you can research it. It is going to get crazier. It's not going to get, I often tell people, build a personal brand before you need it, right? Take 15 minutes in the morning, even if you're on a 9 to 5, funding and building, creating your business. 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night, ideally more. Because now you are building a personal brand way before you need it. Because now when you launch your product, hey guys, I'm looking for, like sometimes I tell people they're going to launch a book. Go find your 12 apostles for my religious friends or your 12 Avengers for the non-religious. And now you find your core 12 people. They're going to be there with you. They're going to, the moment that you put that book on Amazon for $1, or you start putting videos about your book and whatever, they're going to be the ones sharing, liking, commenting, sharing with their people, supporting you. You get a few dozen sales on Amazon for $1 on day one. What do you think is going to happen? Amazon is going to blow it up and show that to millions of people for what? $0 ad spent. So think about it. Why not create a little mini pocket guide, a little mini book to talk about your startup, to talk about your awesomeness. And now you go find your top 12. You don't need 1 million followers, like I said earlier. You guys heard me yesterday. I like to give practical strategies that you can apply. You can write a little pocket guide, self-publish on Amazon, find your 12 apostles, put it up for $1 or for free on day one, have a bunch of people buy it. Now let Amazon do the talk. Inside that pocket guide, you're giving massive value. You're sharing strategies and techniques that's going to better other people's lives. What do you think is going to happen, my friends? They're going to come back. Now you can have a membership site. And now you have a few hundred people on the membership site giving you $50 and $100. What do you think is going to happen? Now you have a valuation in your hand, that now you have a company. Now you can grow that company to, let's say, 1,000 people giving you $100. Ooh, that's big money right there. Many people will buy that from you for millions of dollars. So, little things like that, guys, like I say, you got to be tactical. You got to think about it, like seek out like pre-sales and early customers, right? Give it to them, pass them, show. Look at how I took Jackie here, a single mom of 2 that was struggling to sell her coaching consulting businesses. And now 6 months later, I got her in a few stages and she now did 50K, 100K from the stage. Now she has money. Once you have money, like Sophia was saying earlier, it's scary before you put it back in your business. But guess what? Now, this is the greatest gift that people like Chris, myself, and Sophia, who are consultants, can give it back to you, which is make you more money. So now you can invest, put that money back, hire a CEO, a CFO, a CMO, have better staff in your company, because now you can buy your time back. Now you don't have to be doing the chores that you don't like whether social media, video editing, and financing, accounting, right? Go to Bob. He handles the business funding. He handles the accounting, the financing, right? Go to Sophia, incredible entrepreneur and serial entrepreneur leader. Go to Chris. Come to myself. And then you find better people to help you now take things to another level. I'll leave it as that. And then, but definitely that's a great start for anybody here who's struggling to raise some cash and start to blow it up. But take some notes, my friends. Writing is the doing part of thinking. I'll pass the baton back to Sophia.
I love that. All such valuable tips. I totally agree with personal branding. Even for me, well, we were talking about the panel before, and for anyone listening, we do have our content creator panel soon. We'll go into some of those strategies. But for me, when I was also looking into funding, that is what people would point out. They were looking like, oh, you have a really strong profile and your website and you look legit. And that's really going to help you. And just like Chris was mentioning, building a business plan. Before that used to feel really daunting for me, but now with ChatGPT, it's actually pretty easy. You can drop numbers in there and it'll do the calculations. So, now it's an easy thing to access. So anyone can really have a really strong business plan. And same like what Bob was saying, those were all things that I didn't know at the beginning of my business, that, it's the beginning that you should be going to someone like Bob and getting funding, figuring out how to do that and set everything up the right way. Because I didn't. And then, it's 3 years later. And then it's like, oh, you should have done it in the beginning. So if you guys haven't started yet, that's the best, I think, tip. If I could go back in time, I would have started at the beginning. And even what they just shared, having a patent, I wouldn't have known that. I had no idea that you could have a patent and that would hold value and that could maybe help you get funding in the beginning. So, wow, really valuable tips. Thank you. My next question is around cash flow. So what role does cash flow management play in business sustainability? And what tools or methods have you found most effective in optimizing it? And the reason I'm also asking that is because when I got into the credit space, I started being told about cash flow, how yes, you have your business cash flow, and this might be wrong because I stopped working with this person, but he told me, even banks. So I think some people they have their main business, but then they'll make another LLC that's a different name. And then say one business gets 10K, then they'll move the 10K to the other business. Then they'll put the 10K back to the other business. So now it'll look like this business made 20K and the other business like gave it money. So I don't know if that's legit, but all I know is someone told me like you can just like move money through banks to do cash flows, but that also seemed really sketch. So I'd love to know what you guys think from a legitimate standpoint on how to manage cash flow and like use that to your advantage for funding or credit.
Happy, Bob, you want to admit, or you want me to start?
You can go ahead and start this time, Chris, if you
I'll
don't.
just tee it up because I know this year. So in terms of cash flow, I mean, cash flow is critical. I mean, if you don't have cash in your business, then you don't have a business. So, and especially in the beginning, is we all shared, Carlos shared, you gotta bootstrap. So you're going to be doing a lot of things just to get things moving. So in those cases, you're going to be the cook, the bottle washer, the waiter, waitress. You're going to be handling multiple roles until that you have a certain amount of money coming in that you can start, paying for either hiring somebody or you can, secure somebody's services to help you in that area. But cash flow is always going to be critical, especially in the beginning. You have to be driving revenue. And while revenue is important, especially in the beginning, that's going to be critical. What's going to even be more important as you get revenue coming in and you go to that next level in order to get more cash inflow to take your business to the next level, then it's going to be your profit margin, because profit margin is also going to be important to continue to keep increasing or getting more money to infuse into your business to grow. But cash is always going to be important because you're going to require money to operate a business, especially if you're a brick and mortar. You're going to have to have money for a lease. If you're a dentist, you're going to have money for a lease to use the space in order to do your business, if that's the type of business you're in. But I would always say that if you're in a service business, you want to do the best you can to not, you don't want to like just sacrifice certain things, but minimize certain costs that are not necessary. So, so you got to be really, really, on a budget. without taking shortcuts that are going to hurt your business by any means. But, ways that you can utilize the money for all, the things that are going to help you to move forward. So again, that all comes down to planning again up front, not, just shooting from the hip. Because a lot of times when you're doing that and now you're reacting, you could now be in a place where it can quickly put you out of business. And that can happen very, very quickly. I've seen people burn through money faster than they even realized, especially when it comes to startups. And then you have unforeseen circumstances that happen, like the financial crash of 2008, which took a lot of startups out of the game, and even some really good investments. It happened to me. It happened to me, not to my business, but to a business that I invested in with two MIT researchers. I mean, these guys were rock solid, vetted, had a great idea. Robert Crandall, the ex chairman of the board of American Airlines, he's passed on at this point, but back then he was on the board. We had a great idea and didn't happen because of these unforeseen circumstances. But cash flow is critical. So wherever we can to kind of bootstrap it, again, as Carlos mentioned, if you have to use some of your own money, okay, because that shows you're vested, right? That's important. But then again, you don't want to, mortgage your whole home or spend every dime you have, and then, but knowing when to use certain amount of money, and again, that's going to be important. But cash flow, wherever you're going to be able to generate it, is going to be important. And I'll leave it to Bob to talk about it from a credit standpoint.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. So you made a lot of valuable points there, and Carlos made some great ones earlier in regards to minimize what you're doing here in the beginning, because your cash flow is going to go places where you don't expect it to go. Okay. So cash flow, I mean, it's basically money you're bringing in and then money that you have to pay out on stuff, right? And even when people start their business, they don't think of things like, hey, I need insurance on my business. Oh, well, I need cyber, general insurance, all this stuff. Oh, there's a quick $1,500. See you later, right? So you got to have all this type of money to get started when you start with cash flow in that. And one of the most important things is realize that 50% of all new businesses fail the first year. And it's 80% of that is due to cash flow, right? Because nobody planned for it. Everybody gets excited about their business when they open it. I got this great idea. This is what I'm going to do. This is how it's going to happen. I'm going to make all this money. It's going to be great. And then when it doesn't happen, okay, it's like, where am I going to get the money from? And that's where the bootstrapping comes in. And Chris brought up, you don't want to put your house against it. Well, guess what? Banks, okay, would love to give you a HELOC loan so that you can put your house against it and you can borrow against your house. The only problem is if you don't make it now, if you have a wife and kids, good luck. Or if a husband and kids, right? Right? Good luck. You're going to lose everything. The bank takes it all. So there's nobody out there really looking out for you. And this is why we did what we did, pushing people on business credit and stuff, because bootstrapping is one of the biggies. And what happens when you bootstrap? You use your money. You might use your 401k. You might use your mom and dad's retirement money. You might use your house. You might use your friend's money, right? What happens if you don't make it, right? You have to be prepared. And all these things, are important. And so, yes, you need people to help you get started and stuff like that. But you got to be thinking ahead of time. How am I going to get this money? What am I going to do? And one of the big pieces I think everybody misses is, hey, I just brought in $20,000 this month. All right. I billed out $20,000 my first month. Okay. How much did you collect? How much did you actually receive? Did that person pay you in 10 days, immediately, 30 days, 60 days? Did you have to wait 90 days to get paid? How many times can you do that before you run out of money? Right? It happens. Okay. Know it's going to happen. Right? You have to stay on top of this stuff. All right. And so realize cash flow is the lifeblood of your company. It's the most important piece that you're going to have to deal with. So for money coming in and money coming out, and it's only thing that's going to keep you alive. And you better know where you're going to get money. So that's why people look for lines of credit, right? So they have a line of credit that they can go to somebody for or whatever. Again, These are things that we do to help you out when you start your business. And Sophia mentioned she wished she would have started this when she started. Look, I have companies 20 years in business saying, why don't I know about this? I had a guy the other day told me, he goes, I've been in business 40 years. You sold the first system to my father when he started his business because I sold copiers and digital presses and things like that. And he goes, and I'm this far out now and I'm looking at this going, how can I not know this? Because banks aren't going to tell you. You can go to college tomorrow, okay, for a financial doctorate degree, all right, and you're not going to learn this in school. Nobody's going to tell you, all right? So this is not one of the classes that you're going to take. Why? Because banks in corporate America don't want you to know, right? So once you get to that level, you're fine, but you got a long ways to go to get there, right? And let's just even look at someone like Walmart. Let's just take Walmart, for instance, okay? Walmart, from a business credit standpoint and stuff, think about that. When you go into Walmart to buy something, how much do you think inside their store they've paid for before you even buy it? Pretty much none. Okay. It's all sitting there with probably 90 to 120-day payment terms. So now what happens? You're there at day 30. Okay. And you buy something. So now what's Walmart do? They collect your money. They still haven't paid for it, right? So they haven't paid for it. They collect your money. Now they can get 90 days interest on your money before they even have to pay for it. Walmart's done such a good job at building business credit that they have $50 million in business credit, okay, to utilize throughout their company. So people don't even look at them anymore. It's like, yep, here you go. Here's all the money you need. Go do what you got to do. This is the way it works. So you need to do this with your company, all right? And you can't get to that level without building it and selling and doing all these different things. But cash flow is going to be the main piece when you do it. And so learn about it, okay? You can read about it, you can learn about it, you can come to my site again, all right? There's all kinds of stuff up there that's going to help you in regards to this type of thing. And so what I tell people is there's when I researched this, when I started going into business credit, I went up and Googled all this stuff. And what I found is there's a bunch of half truths. All right. I can go to a bank and I can see what they say business credit is, and some of it's true and some of it's stretched. It's not quite the right thing. Right. And you learn this over time, and you don't have time when you first start a new business to be able to learn all this. You're too busy. You're usually the only guy out there or girl or gal or whatever out there working, right? And doing everything you can to try and keep your business going. Your books, you're the salesperson, you're the marketing person, like Carlos said, you're up on LinkedIn, you're in Facebook, you're in whatever. People don't realize it. I have people call me and say, hey, yeah, I need $1 million to kick off this new project, and this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to advertise on Google and all these places. And Chris made a great point on it. You want to spend your money fast? Wait till you find out that, a 2-week ad or something costs you tens of thousands of dollars, okay, to be up on Google to do some of this type of stuff. So anyway, I got off subject a little bit here from the cash flow standpoint, and I'm going to throw it over to Carlos, but cash flow is everything. 80% out of business because of cash flow issues, right? 80%. Don't be one of them.
Amen.
We're here to help.
Amen, brother. Amen. Hey guys, it's funny, as you were talking, I was reflecting. I spoke at many colleges, like big, major name colleges like MIT, Stanford over the years, Harvard. And the professors and the students, they come to me after, how did you know all this? It's like, I love studying it. My father was a banker before he died in a horrible car explosion, as I told you guys the story yesterday. So he loved math, physics, and stuff. I love numbers. So I studied law. I almost became a real estate lawyer. So I love digging deep. And I like studying the tax codes. The book is actually pretty large and it can get very crazy. But when you have the understanding of math and tax laws and you go deep into this, it actually becomes very interesting. Have you guys, I love surrounding myself with billionaires and senior people smarter than me. I never want to be the smartest guy in the room. I love learning from them and I journal. I ask hella questions. I am that kid. I used to journal things since I was young. But have you guys ever heard the saying? Control nothing, own everything. You see, guys, this concept is what separates truly wealth from those like who wants to chase, just like, oh, I just wanted to chase merely wealth, from those who are actually making it happen. It's something that I wish I knew 30 years ago. Something that, that was not only going to change our financial future, but the future generations to come. You see, our brother Albert Einstein often says, oh, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. I like to argue with my brother Einstein. Compound tax-free interest is the 8+1 wonder of the world. Compound interest is great, but what if you could actually gain and accumulate compound tax-free interest? How much better off would you be financially and in cash flow accumulation for your business versus the competitors? I often say that is no second places. Nobody remembers them, right? So I want to dive into a concept that I called infinite banking, ladies and gentlemen. As you guys are earning money in your business, imagine taking that cash that you're going to need it, and instead of just using that cash, imagine if you do what the wealthy does, and they don't talk about. You see, it doesn't benefit the government or the banks to teach you this, or even the corporations that you're putting your money into their 401k. Everything that I'm talking about, not a financial legal advice. I know that is lame, but I gotta drop a disclaimer. So there you go. So right back to it. So think about this. If they wanted to know this, they will be all over the place. Because why? The moment that what I'm about to teach you now, that means there's no taxes going to the government. It's no money that you're going to learn how to become your own bank versus putting money in the bank. And there is ways how you do it that nobody teaches it. You see people on YouTube and TikTok arguing about infinite banking, cash value, insurance, blah, blah, blah. The way how they teach it is so that they can make commission. What if I can teach in a way where the commission actually, instead of paying large amounts of fees and commission, imagine if that cash was actually going inside our own bank. So now the value of that money accumulates even farther. So now let's take one up. Imagine you are putting in whatever profits, a percentage of the money into your own bank every month. And whenever you need cash for the business, have you ever heard the term double down on your money? So now imagine being able to withdraw money from your bank tax-free, and that money still sitting inside your max funded cash value insurance policy, becoming the bank / all the awesomeness that I like to talk about in this unique policy is how you set it up, guys. That's the key. Nobody going to teach you. The insurance guy, the banker, the wealth advisor, they won't teach you the right way because commissions and fees are involved. But there is ways to set it up where the commissions are dropped so minimally, and all that cash that was going to go for commission and fees, guess what? That's going to go to your bank account. So now imagine having access of that money, 90% of that cash, anytime you need it, to put it right back into your business, go on a vacation, have some fun with the wife and the kids, and you can borrow it, 90% of that cash at any time, tax freaking free. You see? Now what I just talked about over here, I know I'm going crazy and adding a lot of value here fast, but I want you guys to think about, I actually did a video, and I talk about this in one of my podcast episodes. So to make it easier, go on disruptorscode.com and watch a 1 hour interview of myself interviewing the founder of Sweet Garlic, showing him how to build a bank in real time with only a couple of $100 a month. But imagine now if you are a doctor, if you are somebody that deals with customers, if you get sued in the past. Here's the thing, when you control nothing and you own everything, when you have and you set it up, this type of max funded cash value insurance policies in a certain way, when you get sued, if you go bankrupt, if anybody sue or go after you, guess what happens? That money, you don't even have to report it. By law, that money they cannot touch. That money is yours. It's sitting inside, it's wrapped it around this electric fence, titanium fence. Nobody can mess with that money. How you think Walt Disney, was able to save Disney many times? Same thing with McDonald's. They have multiple cash value because you're able to put a maximum amount per year, per person, per family. So that's why you have one for the wife, for the kids, for the suegra, everybody in the family. So definitely go on disruptorscode.com, watch that video. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me on social media. I'm a very open public person that I reply back. And I'm going to give you guys 3 tax codes that I want you guys to go research and write it down. tax code 72E. This is the greatest thing I wish somebody told me 20, 30 years ago before I start businesses and saving money and investing in things. 72E. This allows you to accumulate tax wealth tax-free. 72E is an echo. Second code, 101A. This enables you to what? Transfer your wealth tax-free. 7702A. This gives you access to your wealth tax-free anytime without penalties. So here we go. I'll leave it as that. If we have some more time later, I can tell you guys a story about the tax code, how it was created, and back in the early 1900s. But if not, we'll leave that for another time. I'll pass the baton back to my lioness friend, Sophia.
I'm on mute. Yeah. Thank you so much. You guys that's all such valuable information again. And I'm glad you brought up the insurance. So what Carlos is talking about is life insurance, I believe, is universal life insurance policy to set up a banking system. And with that too, it's also something I started looking into where the elites do it. Say, I think it was it's either the Rockefeller or the Rothschilds, and they do this. And then they set it up for their children. So they actually never use their own money, even to live. They actually always just draw from life insurance since they're born. And then because the family has built up so much wealth, they can draw such huge life insurance policies. So then the family lives off of that. But then if they have all this debt when they die, the life insurance policy pays for it. So they're actually never dipping into their personal resources. And that's why it continues to grow generation after generation. So really fascinating. Just like they all said, it's stuff you just would never learn anywhere else. And there's agendas in play to make sure we don't learn these things. But it's also very, yeah, complicated. Yes, like Ahra saying, waterfall trust method. So that being said, is there a specific way to set that up? Because from what I understand, it's the same thing where it's like you need to have a trust, like maybe a living trust, and then you need a holding company, or maybe it's a trust and then the life insurance and then the holding company. But I think there's a specific structure of how you need to structure your company to make that an effective solution. Is that correct?
Yes, different ways that you can do it, Sophia. You can do it as individuals and as companies, and then it's important to also set up a trust and a will. Some of you guys knew Chadwick Boseman, the main actor of the Black Panther, the movie. His double is one of my close friends, and Chad, when he died, he didn't have a trust or a will set up. So 1.1 million went to his wife, 1.1 went to his mom, and 1.1 went to the state, probate, right? He could have saved that money if he had a trust and a will set up and just add a few clauses in there. And a lot of people sometimes they think about the word trust and will and they think it's so big. It's actually simpler. It's about taking the time, researching, learning, finding somebody that's qualified to talk about it and just set those things up. But with the cash value life insurance policies, you can start small. Let's say if all you have left is a couple of $100 a month, you can put in your name for now. And then later you can move that in between companies and then tie it into the trusts. And then there are different levels of trust, irrevocable and so forth. And so, but all that depends on the individual, how much money your business is bringing. There's a lot of variables. And then it's a little bit of policing too. If you're going to set it up for yourself, we want to make sure that the background is clean, right? You cannot have no DUI, no problems with the law and certain diseases, you know what I mean? This is so powerful that they put a little bit of policing in order to, because once you have it set it up, now is game over. Now is the greatest gift that you have done. That's why the Rockefellers did it. If you research the wealthiest families in the world, they all done it. You know what I mean? And so highly, highly recommend you guys studying and learning these things because you guys will make money. And it's better to learn what to do with that money early on than to be like some of my friends out there that didn't listen, who are celebrities and athletes and movie stars. They spent all their money and now they are broke, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah. Such an interesting topic. So I'd say for anyone interested in that too, definitely go seek out someone like Carlos that you can trust because like he said, if you go to normal insurance people, they're they're looking at their commissions and they probably aren't thinking as much about how this is going to help your business and setting it up in the right way. I actually went to talk to some big insurance companies like Farmers Insurance, but I could tell they had no idea what I was talking about. So I was like, using it as a banking system, be like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, so how do you, what do you recommend on how to set up? And they're like, well, usually the person tells us how to set it up. I'm like, that's weird, right? Like you're supposed to be the expert. You're supposed to be able to guide me. So yeah, find the right person who understands how to use it for business. And so that'd be my number one recommendation.
All the money, the
Um,
commercial, Sophia. People they don't realize those things. They spend all this money in
yeah,
commercials. Give you a Super Bowl. What do you think your money is going? It's going towards that the corporations. Very little money going to building, accumulating cash more. But that's why I call max funded, funding properly, in where the person has your back, not the company's back or your own pockets. You know what I mean? Is how you set it up. So great point, my friend.
totally. Yes, love that. One question I want to ask too is what are the risks associated with over leveraging business credit and how can entrepreneurs mitigate those risks while still using credit to grow? Because I think it can be like me going through that process, you can see like, oh, you could take 50K or 10K, or I went to different lenders who like the interest was insane. Like if you try to borrow 10K, it was like, oh, pay it back in 4 months. And then it's like 25K. You're like, what? So there's just like so many insane offers out there. And it's kind of like, how do you know what to take? Like that's just enough. And, you don't totally screw yourself over.
Bob, you want
Or
to
you want?
do that first? You want me? And you can, because
It,
you know that area better than anybody. But I
yeah,
can.
I can start. I mean, first of all, I'm gonna just put myself up here and see if I get adopted by Carlos, so I don't have to learn any of this other, insurance piece. So on the last one, but yeah, so Sophia, in regards to that, you first of all, there's a lot of different ways of going for things. And so what you're talking about and the reason why money costs so much is, again, it's a business credit piece, right? So if you had the business credit, you'd be able to borrow money at very low rates. And sometimes it could be something as simple as business, credit cards. All right. The problem is credit cards are great pieces to use where you can get zero interest and get quite a bit of money to help you out with some of these programs. Our group, okay, we have the ability to get into credit cards, and with the credit card pieces, they become trade lines. So you can even have multiple credit cards, right? There are different ways of taking trade lines. We offer a 9 month to 18 month zero interest. Okay, so there's your interest problem gone away. Credit card system. The problem is that you need at least a 700 credit score and you need to be at least making 75K a year, between your businesses and stuff. And so what happens is instead of doing this early in the beginning of your business, you wait until you get in trouble. And when you get in trouble, then you're not at that stage anymore to be able to get to there. And that's where we get to what I call alternative lending. So you can go, we offer the alternative lending. And when you get to alternative lending, it's usually smaller amounts of money, right? Short terms, higher interest. And that again, when you get into these, this is another time I say, hey, dive into the business credit, go through our SaaS system. So if you try and do it on your own, and you can join our system, and basically you can even do it with the virtual assistant if you want for less money, or you can try and do it on your own if you want. All right. The problem is to monitor all these different credit agencies, Equifax and Experian, all these things, Dun and Bradstreet and stuff. It costs money, right? And so you might be paying membership fees of $100 for each one of them. All right. Some of them you can join groups where you can go through them at all time. But now every time you purchase something, you have to go check to make sure that it actually counted, right? Because were they one of the 6%? So that's why we tell people we're dealing with over 3 to 4,000 businesses that actually report your business credit, right? So we'll start you with something smaller. If depending on where you are, each business is at different stages. We have some coming in right at the middle, and do this. But if you come in the beginning, and we can start you off with different cards and stuff that make it simple to kind of step through some of this to help you with some of this, because otherwise you're into alternative lending, and once you get to that, The rates are much higher, right? And like you said, how much do you then go back to what you were saying? How much do I put into everything? Well, what are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to do? Right? And so those are things for yourself to figure out where we're going to go with this. This goes back to Chris's, how important was that business plan right now while we're thinking about this? How important was that? What are we going to do? And then this goes to Carlos, right? And Carlos said, hey, let's test market it, right? Let's test market it without a lot of money. Let's try this out and see how it works. All right. And maybe that's your starting stage while you're going through it. But to get through a business credit program with me, we can get you through probably in 4 to 6 months and you're done. And you're in the top 1% of the country like this, right? It's just, we teach it. We can't guarantee it because you have to do it, right? We'll show you what to do. We'll make all the steps easier for you. Like, for instance, if you needed a business address, right? Instead of making you go Google that and find somebody that gives you a virtual address, we'll give you 10 choices and say, hey, here's 3 we recommend. There's 10 different choices. Click on the one you want, file it, boom, you're done. Check that one off. You got 8 more things to do in this before you finish up, right? So all these things matter when you do that. But it's a great question that you have in regards to how much do you do for this or how much do you do for this and where do you get that money from? So when you start running out of that bootstrap money, things become tougher and tougher. So everything goes back to building business credit. I don't care what anybody says. If you have the business credit, you'll have the most money you need and you won't have to be paying that off as an interest to people. Just give you one quick one. We had a gentleman that wanted to buy 10 trucks, all right, with commercial money. He was going to be out, 15, 16% on some of this stuff to be able to go out and buy these trucks. He was able to negotiate 8.99%, I think it was, all right, is what he got. If he went through our business program, we showed him where he could have bought those trucks at 4%. All right. The difference of 4% and 8.99% on his 10 trucks was $250,000 over 10 years. Now, where do you want that $250,000 to go? Interest or in your pocket, right? So build the credit.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, I would just getting back to what Bob said. Credit is always important because when you require an inflow of money, it's going to be a lot easier when you have that credit up. But again, going back to the planning and what I'll share with everybody first is I'll at least share with you what I call the 4 pillars of success, and then I'll illustrate how this correlates to what Bob shared here. So the 4 pillars of success, and this can be applied in any business, is going to be a foundation. And a foundation is going to be at an individual and at an organizational level. So again, even if it's just you right now, you're the business. What that means is you have to be able to think in a certain way. And Carlos kind of talked about that a little bit. You gotta think in a different way. If you think now from a survival mindset, you're always going to be reacting. You're always going to be looking for things that that are not working versus when you're facing challenges, you're seeing it happening for you, not to you. So you can see that, hey, I'm going to go through this uncomfortable stage to get there. But also in how you think differently to be it and to become it, and then to do things differently, then to have different results. That's going to be critical. That's a foundation. And then the foundation of your business is also based upon that where you are and where you want that business to go. You got to start building in, anywhere that you can strengthen, any aspect of where that business is, that you're taking the necessary measures to do that. Next, you got to be prepared. So preparation, because again, preparation is key. You don't know, you can't succeed if you're not prepared. Yes, you might get lucky once in a while and hit a home run here and there, but if you got to prepare, you got to go into the cage and you got to hit fastballs, curveballs, sliders. So with that being said, you got to be prepared. And this is where, when you can be prepared, you can now know what money is required for you to do what at that given time. And knowing that you could have a certain surplus of a percentage of money that might be then used in the event if something unforeseen comes up, that you have to now put money towards. You didn't see that coming, but you plan for it just in case. You don't know what it is. You're ready for it. So this way, you're not just taking out just any amount of money and paying this interest, that you're paying interest on money that you may not have to use that all. And now you're throwing money out the door. So this is where preparation is really, really important. Then finally, you got to execute. So you got to execute on what you prepared from that foundation of thinking differently. And when now you can execute, you can see what's working, what's not, what can be adjusted. And how you do that, you measure. So fourth pillar of success is measuring. So by doing this and now gathering this data, and I think Carlos alluded to that earlier, taking that data and really now analyzing it, these are the things that are going to allow you to project for the future in a better way of what what amount of money is going to be required to keep the business flowing, to grow, and that way you have better control of what you're taking you're taking a loan on or getting credit on, so that you know what you're paying on that credit. So that way you're not just again taking a lump sum of money and now it's not making any money for you and now you're paying interest on it. That's like throwing money out the door. So with that being said, foundation, preparation, execution, and measurement. Repeat.
Bob and Chris, they added so much greatness. I won't add much to it here, guys, as they already killed it with this. The biggest thing that I would say is, here's why. If you guys probably seen a lot of the banks on the tabloids this past year, banks are corrupted, straight up. I'm not telling you stop using them, but you got to do your homework. And I often talk about when I'm speaking on stages around the world, you got to do what the gurus and the billionaires are doing, not what they are telling you to do. You see, the way how the banking system works, the banking system, guys, when it comes to leverage, right? If you give the bank $100, they pass a law, a stupid law, in my opinion, that they can actually lend and they can do whatever they want with that $100. So 100% of your money, they can now leverage, which is way over leveraging, to go do something stupid. If they lose it, what they do is they go to the government and say, hey, we screwed up. We need money. If not, the people are not going to be able to withdraw money from their ATMs. It'll be early 1900s. It'll be chaos. People are going to be burning down the building outside. Imagine you trying to go to your ATM, borrowing some cash, and the money is not there. You see, that's the issue with the bank. That's how flawed the whole system is. Insurance companies is the opposite. They got to have 10 times more assets in reserve to lend, to insure you. Let's say if you want to insure 100 million, your business, your life, your family, whatever. Now, if you want to insure $1 million, they got to have 10 million in reserves. It's the opposite. That's why you have to be very careful. I often talk about most Fortune 500, 5,000 companies, they over leverage, right? Their stocks, the prices that you've seen, sorry, not a financial advice, but they really know what they are showing you as. They way over. A dollar is not a dollar, right? You count inflation and all the BS things that they do with money, and they waste money, and then we have print more money in the last few years than we have print in the entire history. So that's why, we have this crazy debt in the trillions and trillions. If you look at the clock, it's insane. So you have to be very careful. Really, I believe Sophia is recording this. Go back to what Bob and Chris say. Take some notes and be very careful, as you know, before you put money into anything. So you don't over leverage yourself, you don't over leverage your business, and then you end up like the 1,600 businesses that are going to go under today, tomorrow, and so forth, like Bob talked about. So that's the biggest thing I want to leave as the importance of. I often talk, and I used to be in military, trust nobody, question everything. You are your best fiduciary, period. Nobody gonna get your back other than yourself. A lot of people over there, unfortunately, we live in a world that they don't even care. Out of 100%, 50, 60 don't care. 30% are probably happy that we are failing. And maybe there's a good 10, 20% left, that will support you. But at the end of the day, you gotta do you. You gotta do your homework. When you have access to the cash, you make a little bit of money, like I talked about earlier. Put it back in the business strategically, test it out, making sure eventually you bring in bigger cash, put some into insurance policies, do it strategically, and now you have plenty cash to hire CEOs, CMOs, staff that you can now take yourself back to go do what you love to do. And I'll leave you guys as that. As I always say, life is about the mission, never the commission. And the days that breaks, only the days that makes us. can go.
Love all your rhymes, Carlos. They're so good. And
I'm
an
thinking out
interesting
loud,
thing,
Carlos.
yes, bring in the energy. One thing that you mentioned that sparked my memory, because you said insurance companies have 10x assets. Um, I don't know, probably people listening on Instagram, there's those people who like run up to cars and then they'll interview like a successful entrepreneur. And I remember seeing it recently, and it was a guy who's done 9 figures in his company, and that was his suggestion where he's like, always make sure you have 10 times more money than you need for your business. I remember hearing that. I was like, wow, I wish I knew that when I started because it feels very true. So I think that's a good, maybe, do you guys think that's a good number to kind of think
Oh yeah,
about? Like you should have 10x in reserve at all times.
oh yeah, reserve is cash, is king.
Yeah, I would say, the goal should be to have because everybody's company is at a different size and a different value. So try to put enough money away to be able to have a whole year's worth of business there, right? So if something goes wrong, you have the money to pull from to be able to go to. But it takes a lot of self, worth to be able to put that type of money away and not touch it. But you always have money if you do it. So,
True,
Yeah,
true.
it requires discipline, and especially for business owners, startups, and what most investors appreciate is someone that's living below their means. I know that was something I learned very early in my career. Well, I learned even before I started my career. I learned that from my father, and I learned that from other, like you probably read the book The Millionaire Next Door. In millionaire true, like a lot of really true millionaires, billionaires, they don't drive around in the $200,000 car. They don't live in a $10 million mansion. They're not wearing designer clothes. They're driving around in a used car. And I'm not saying something cheap, but decent. But these are the people that when excuse my expression, shit hits the fan, they got money. They're fine. And while the person that was flaunting and spending, they don't have a pot to piss in. Excuse my expression. That's, I always like to use those expressions to make my point. So when you start a business, you got to live below your means. You got to put that money towards the things that are going to move things forward, you personally and in your business, and knowing not to just spend freely. You have to be really calculated in everything that you're doing in the beginning to make sure, not being, don't be a cheapskate, but knowing where to spend and not to spend. And it requires discipline and consistency to do that. Because again, the fruits of your efforts will reflect later when you take that, either whether if you build that into a multi-million billion-dollar business, sell it at exit, there you go. Okay, of course, you're going to enjoy things along the way. Don't get me wrong, but or if the business goes public at some point, you take it to IPO if that's how you're going to go do it. But I can't stress the importance of discipline and consistency and living below your means. Like if you practice that, I can tell you, you will never be without when it comes down to a rainy day. And I know that has come true to in my life many, many times as an investor and as a business owner.
Yeah, very important to be disciplined with your money. It's hard to do. And another question that popped up for me, because I had no clue and nobody ever talks about this, was a few months ago, 6 months ago, when I was also looking into lending options. I was getting denied because I have a digital bank. And the person I was working with was actually saying that, and she was pretty upset about it. She's like, it's so funny. She's like, I work with all these millennial and Gen Z companies, and everyone's moving to digital banks. But lenders, they don't consider that a legitimate bank. Like you have to have a major one. And I guess that's like common, not like, but a lot of younger entrepreneurs don't know that. And most of us want to use digital banks because you feel safer about it. I know I do. And there's like better options. You can withdraw ATMs anywhere. Have you guys come across that at all? Or what are your recommendations? Like, I wish I knew and I would have just established maybe a relationship with a bank a long time ago, but I preferred the digital banking, especially with kind of what people know is coming. Depends how paranoid you are, but
It,
yeah.
it depends on the business. I'll give you a case in point. If you're opening up, you're a dentist and you're going to buy a practice, or you're going to start your own practice from scratch. Somebody like Wells Fargo would be an ideal partner. Why? Because Wells Fargo is a big company, yes, because they have a specialty in that area. Bank of America also has a division in that area. So it really, sometimes the bigger banks have certain like divisions that are aligned with certain types of businesses that you can get into, and they're going to have more resources, more more access. So a lot of times when you build the right relationships with certain people, that could also help you in that particular area. Like Bob said, credit is everything, and it is. It's so important. But sometimes, if there's maybe some loopholes here and there, they might be able to do that. But nonetheless, I think I'm not going to sit there and say the bigger banks that's it. It could be. It depends on the business, and I guess what you're trying to do, and again, those relationships that you have with people in that industry.
And I just say I agree 100%. I
Awesome.
mean, I agree 100%, on that one. I mean, so it's where you start, and just one thing is when you start with some of these bigger banks, they all have fees for everything. Okay. So, oh, you don't have 10,000 in your account. That's a fee, right? You don't have this, it's a fee. Oh, you need a check, it's a fee. Oh, you can't deposit more than 3 times. Okay. It's a fee, right? They also have, if you put in this much money, then you're part of all these programs, right? So if you have enough money to start with those banks at the right spots, instead of paying fees, they're all waived, and then you're earning bonuses, right, for different things that you do. So know the rules of each bank that you deal with. And in your case, maybe the digital bank's more important or does better for you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being in a digital bank, unless you like what Chris was saying, if Wells Fargo is a big equipment company, right? So if you need equipment, dentists, right? They need all that equipment and stuff like that. Wells Fargo is one of those companies that will definitely be helpful for that. But if you're not doing that and you're out there doing something like me, which is business credit, where I don't need a lot of equipment, right? Digital bank would be fine. I don't see any disadvantage to it.
Interesting. Yeah.
Like sometimes it's just like being transparent to like question these people. Like sometimes they're gonna give you excuse, I cannot show you, BS. Like, think about the last time you borrow money or you start an application, right? To get business funding or for your mortgage or whatever, and buying a car where they would show you them building the loan in real time. They share the screen with you. I do that, with clients. They actually help me build a great reputation in showing people how to build cash value max funded properly. I would tell them, look, if I click this button, now more fees go in commission, more fees go to the company. If I click that button, that means minimum fees, maximum cash value. And they love that stuff because nobody never show. We're not technically supposed to show it, but hey, I would like to see it. So treat others how you wish to be treated. Transparency, guys, is everything, man. Integrity, being real, being raw. That's why I tell people, like, you don't need millions of people. You just gotta be you, be raw, document. People often question, Carlos, what should I create today? Don't worry about it. Just document the good, the bad, the ugly, and people are gonna love that. And then if you are in money, in finance, and if you showcase, hey guys, here's how we truly build this shit, right? And be honest with people. I guarantee you, they'll be knocking at your door. They'll be switching from their competitors to you. They will come because they love how real and raw you are. You're not hiding stuff or pretending to be something that you are not. And that's what it comes down to, guys. Like I say earlier, man, trust nobody, question everything, question these people. When you're out there seeking money, raising funds, investing in your business, seeking consulting, question them, dig deeper, and let's rock and roll and finish 2024 on fire. Reach out to Sophia, to Bob, to Chris, to myself on social media. We are reachable. If we don't answer right away, we are either traveling, speaking, doing something, guys. You got so much value here in these last 2 days, and just stay, just be in the game. Like I often talk about, you heard that from somebody stolen from the Bible. You hang around the barber shop long enough, you're gonna get a haircut, baby. So come and hang around our barber shop and let's rock and roll. Let's go.
Love it, love it. That's all so valuable. And for anyone, I saw a couple people hop on, but I do want to open it up for Q&As so you guys have time. I know this is a complex topic, and sometimes you just don't even know what to ask if you don't know. But if you have any about funding or financing or business credit, feel free to drop it in the chat. And then in the meantime, I just want to ask you guys, what are the emerging trends or innovations in business funding and credit that you see shaping the future for entrepreneurs who are looking to build wealth and abundance?
Well, there's a few things. Again, it depends on the business, right? If you're in technology, or you're coming up with something that could be disruptive again, or you're coming up with a new idea, an invention. They've been around for a while now, but there's incubators around the country. Even now, not in just in major cities. They can be in even mid-sized cities or even small cities. And a lot of times they have they'll have a certain amount of resources that can help you, especially when you have nothing and you're bootstrapping. These are good things to look at. Sometimes there could be grants. You could apply. Grants are not just for nonprofit. They could be for profit as well. Those are other things. Again, it depends on the industry, the business that you're in. I don't want to make it sound like this applies to every business, of course, but I'm just trying to give you some ideas. And so those are just some things that you could look at. And again, there could be some things that you could do, for, come up with some creative ideas that can maybe, you can get help from certain people. Maybe that you do again, I know your time has to be spent on your business, but maybe you can barter and do some things for certain people in exchange for them providing some services that can help you in your business. Those are just some ideas. And I'll pass it on to Bob or Carlos.
I don't have a lot to add to that, actually. Basically, what Chris is saying is that's kind of a tough one in regards to it's really independent business. Each business is different, right? So every business is going to look at it a different way. There's lots of ways to attack and try and get different monies. Grants aren't something easy to do, but they require a lot of filling out of paperwork and staying on top of them, right? And to be able to get that money. Credit unions, another one. A lot of people say they'll go to credit unions. Well, you're going to find out most of the credit unions don't even do small business, right? They're not doing that type of stuff. But if you can find one, that's a spot to maybe pull some stuff from. So there's different avenues to go that way, but it's really business dependent.
Right.
One thing too, guys, I want you guys to think about like crowdfunding platforms, right? There are companies crowdfunding like Kickstarter, right? Kickstarter, one word, or Indiegogo, Indiegogo, right? They can help you raise funds by appealing to people that are more likely to give you cash. But this approach, you guys know me, I'm big in sales and marketing, right? Sales and marketing is what? Your twin tickets to freedom. For you guys that were paying attention yesterday. So think about it. As you are out there leveraging these platforms, you are also marketing your business, right? You're gaining exposure as you are building a early customer base. What did I say earlier? You don't need that many people, 100 people giving you $50. That's $5,000 a month. That's 60,000 a year. That if you have a little membership, a little small base group, adding value, helping them with their business in a particular area that you have your superpowers, right? Now you know that you have that money coming every month. You build a little membership site, a little private group in your city, in your town, online, whatever. So those platforms are very good. Kickstarter, Indiegogo, highly recommend you guys are looking into it because it's a great way for you guys to get out there and then get some additional exposure. And as far as like trending, there's a lot of great stuff out there, like with AI. Stay ahead of the game. Like I have a lot of friends in personal development, like Tony Robbins. He jokes around. He likes to call me the Latino Tony Robbins. My wife calls him the Brazilian Carlos. And Tony is looking to holograms. He want to have a hologram of himself. So long after he's dead, he want people to watch him in a hologram, paying him 10 grand to his events. It's interesting technology, and they are looking to things. This stuff is so advanced where they building things with holograms and AI where you're able to watch a basketball game, a football, soccer, and go into an event of your guru and being over there on the floor and high five the son of a gun. Right? And they want to get into smell and touch and senses, right? So you got to see the trend is your friend. You got to pay attention, whatever industry you're in. If you're in personal development and in consulting, you want to look at the stuff. What are the billionaires are doing, right? What is Robbins is doing? What is Elon Musk is doing? What is Zuckerberg is doing? You got to look at their balance sheet. You got to look at their numbers. You got to look at the things that they are announcing their quarterly earnings. What are they looking for? What are they struggling with? They're giving you clues, right? Success leaves clues. So you want to pay attention to those things. A lot of people are implementing blockchain in their business, right? They tokenizing things. You've seen people you leveraging tokenization and blockchain to prevent fraud, to prevent people copying stuff, right? The big brands, Louis Vuitton, expensive wines, they're now able to tokenize every part of the process. Let's say if you sell wine, all the way to the farm, the fruits, the bottles, the transportation, all the way into the shopping center. So now that's nobody's scamming and taking that bottle, drinking, and adding something, purple in there, and then God knows what. So, and Louis Vuitton is the same with the quality of the materials. So now they can counterfeit. It's $1 billion industry. What do you think is happening to these blockchain companies that were able to fix that? Multi-billion-dollar problem, multi-billion-dollar moolah. So think about, right? What is the billion-dollar problem that you can solve? Remember that the trend is always your friend and the ego is always our amigo. Let's go.
You never run out of those. It's amazing.
As you can tell, I've been doing this way too long, Sophia.
Question I saw in the chat box, somebody asked about the business plan. So I don't know if we want to answer that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Sandra. How big of a business plan does an entrepreneur need to own a business, small or large or medium size? Just curious.
Well, I'll just answer. I mean, you need a business plan. It doesn't matter if it's going to be, you're just going to make an income from it. Even if you're going to make $100,000, $150,000 a year and you're comfortable with that. I'm not saying you have to have a full blown business plan, but regardless, a business plan is important. Why? Because it's going to it's going to require the discipline and the consistency to put you into the driver's seat to say, okay, what is the challenge that I'm going to make better in this business? Now, a lot of solopreneurs come in to these businesses thinking like, oh, I saw so-and-so on social media and they look successful and they come in for all that's not a business. A business is like, am I able to come in and help either an industry or industries or people to make this challenge better, to make this result a reality that they don't have? What void am I filling? And how we have to do that is you have to be able to gather some research. You don't have to hire like a marketing agency to do a full blown market research. It depends on the business. If you're going to plan to be a like a company that's going to grow into the millions, then yes, you're going to probably have to do some of that. Maybe not immediately up front, but as you go. But if it's a solopreneur, it's just, again, going out, surveying, polling, getting some information from 50 to 100 people that could be your audience. Will they buy your product? Do they see this as an idea that could, make a challenge better to generate a result they don't have? If so, then you go out and build it. I see so many people going out and building products, online programs, and all these things, spending all this time and money up front, and they just assume that their audience would buy it, only to be disappointed when they go to put it out to market, nobody's buying it. So again, do yourself a favor. I know it's not sexy, it's not fun. You don't have to do it alone. You can reach out to people that are on this board here or that you see here that can help you to navigate this. You don't have to know everything. And that's the thing. That's the beauty about, ask Richard Branson when he starts businesses. Richard, do you know these? Do you know that? No, I don't know. I learn as I go, but I align myself with resources and other people that are more knowledgeable in those areas to help me now grow in this business. Just start where you're at, get help, put a plan together. Doesn't have to be anything major. You're going to break it down to what your financial projections are, because you'll thank yourself in the long run of where you are and where you want to go with having one.
Yeah, I love that. I think I haven't done one in a while, but basics are kind of the like your mission or statement, then the target audience, make sure you have a marketing plan, I think sales plan, revenue projections. I don't know.
Yeah,
So did I say
start with
anything?
the
Like the
audience
basics?
segmentation analysis, market research, because a marketing and sales strategy is useless if you don't really understand your audience. A value prop. Most businesses do not put together a value proposition, and your value
I agree with
proposition,
that. That's a big one.
yeah, it will change over the life cycle of your business because your audience will change. Like if you're targeting, like for instance, I had a moving company that I worked with a few years ago, and they came to me and they said, Chris, our sales have been stagnant for 14, 15 years now. We haven't really been able. And I said, well, who do you compete with? They go U-Haul and, Penske, all those started naming. And I said, are you on a national level? I'd never heard of you. No, we're on a regional level, but we still compete with them. And I said, who's your audience? And they said, well, we target like 20 somethings, maybe to early 30s. These are people that are maybe moving into their first homes. Maybe they're moving out of school and now moving. And we tend to, that's our sweet spot. And I said, great. I said, and I looked at their website. I looked at a bunch of things. And I said, and I knew the messaging was off. And I said, I go, when did you put together this messaging? And they said, well, we did when we first started back in 1994. And I said, it hasn't been updated or changed since then. He said, no. I said, I'm your audience. And he said, what are you talking about? You're not 20 something. I said, yeah, but I was back then. I said, now I'm in my 50s. I'm not your audience anymore. You're speaking to me. I'm a Gen X. You're not speaking to the Gen Z you're not speaking to Gen Z here. His messaging was completely talking to somebody like me that is now in my 50s, not somebody in their 20s. Completely different now. And so once he made those changes, he saw a reflection in his lead gen and SEO, and sales went up just from the change in the value proposition. But he assumed a lot of 90, I would say 90% of businesses do that and don't even realize it.
Yeah. Wow. And another tip for doing research beforehand that I learned recently, I think I was listening to a podcast, Diary of the CEO, and they're saying you can, just put up a landing page and put up a wait list before you launch the product. And then you can actually ask people and then add a survey to it. And he was giving an example, say, if you want to open an ice cream shop that has like unique flavors, then first see like, hey, would you guys be interested if this was opened in your area and we had like pistachio, saffron, some flavors. And then they put the different flavors in the survey to be like, which ones would you buy? So they were already collecting all this market research, proven that people would buy it before even considering starting the company. And then once they got all that, then they're like, okay, this is actually, a viable product. And they left that wait list up for a year. So they were able to gather data, over the course of the year. So I thought that was a really smart idea to do for any new like business or project you want to launch.
And one thing that you said, and I think it was great, Sophia, is that there are some people that make money quickly in some businesses, like especially online. They're great salespeople. There are a lot of good people that can sell ice to an Eskimo, so to speak, right? But what it happens is it's not sustainable. As soon as they make the money, they're already out of the business, because now the people get in, they find out this is not working, they're disappointed. This wasn't what I thought it would be, and they're churning through people. And eventually they churn enough people and they run out of people, they're out of business. And then they lay low for a couple of maybe 6 months, and then they come back with something different and do that. That's not building a business. This is why value propositions and what you said about going out and doing this market study is so important, because we want to build relationships. We want to build products and services that are going to truly help people, as Carlos talked about transparency before. And those are the things that might not be selling initially as fast as you would like them to, but in the long run will be more sustainable to building a business that will be worth something. And if you know how to use the right revenue and profit strategies to grow, scale, and sustain it, you can walk away with an annuity when you go to sell it, when somebody comes to buy it, because your valuation will go up. my advice is avoid these quick, get rich quick things, going in, trying to sell somebody, get a bunch of people, because they're all over social media. Be very careful. And I know some people listening might say, I don't want to hear it, Chris, because I'm doing that. Well, I'm not trying to put you out of business here. I'm just trying to say that's not, my opinion, not a sustainable business model. And if you want to keep churning and keep starting these things, stopping them, start up again, stop them, so be it. But I can tell you that's not going to build a business that you can now, sustain and then actually sell one day. So that's why I want to put that out there.
Yeah, love that. We got in the chat from Angela that Kit is a great tool for that. Agreed. There's that other one that starts with a T. I feel like I'm kind of blanking on it, like test form, something like that. There's some form one that's also really good. Great. Are there any other last questions from any of the audience? Oh, we got Jot form too. Yes, also very good. Also low cost because I think there are landing page softwares where you can make landing pages for free. So all stuff you can do in a very cost-effective way too to gather market research. Yes. Well, this was so valuable to get so much information about business credit, investing, life insurance, how to make your own banking system. I think to conclude it, maybe if you guys want to have your last thoughts is, try as much as possible at the beginning of your business to set it up correctly, try to get advice if you can, get business credit, start producing business credit. I personally think that's the smartest step one before even going to investors. But again, you have to decide how you feel about your company. And if you've started it to have your own freedom, I personally think looking at investors or VC should kind of be the last option. And then it sounds like, then building up something like the life insurance. So now you're starting to create your own banking system so that you can be sovereign before you ever have to go and consider something like investors. But I'd love to know any other last thoughts for you guys, if you have any last tips for entrepreneurs.
I'll say this, everybody, I mean, Chris mentioned it earlier, everybody in business is going to hit lulls, right? And they're gonna fly and make lots of money and say, oh, this is great. And then they're gonna hit this lull, and you need to be prepared for them, all right, to have a long-term business and to be able to make it and realize it's not just small business that has these laws, big businesses have it, We go back to 1997, we all sit here. How many people have an Apple iPod or an iPhone or whatever, right? Guess who was in the same boat that we're talking about right now? Apple. Apple was in this boat in 1997. They were running out of money. All right. They weren't sure what they were going to do. They almost didn't make it. It was Bill Gates that went and rescued them with a $150 million loan. Now, Uncle Bill, and I wish he was here to help me too, but he's not going to be. So, or whatever, but they got rescued. All right. Or they would be here, and they turned into $1 trillion company, off of that. So know that you can go and do whatever you want to do. It's really up to you. You got to go out there and push it, but plan for those rainy days. Okay. Plan for them. All right. Have the business credit, put that extra money in your pocket, right? Don't give it to the banks. Don't give it to all these people that take interest, and don't give your company away. All right. Keep the equity in yourself. All right. Like Chris said, someday you might want to be able to sell that. That might be part of your retirement plan. Better yet, it might be something you want to give to your kids, right? That have come up and grown and joined your business with you. You can't do that if you give away all your equity. So find ways to kind of step through this and do the right thing. So that's my last point.
Well, Bob, you summed it up, and I'll just add up, hey, sometimes a VC is necessary if it's going to take it to a level you've never imagined. But if my advice is avoid a VC at all costs, because they're going to take equity, an extreme amount of equity. And the mistake that a lot of people make in the beginning is when they're getting their first round of funding from friends, family, or even an early adopter or investor, and you're giving away 20, 30, 40% of your business for 50K to get 50K, don't do that. Just don't do it. Tough it out if you have to. Just do what you got to do to keep moving the ball forward. Barter, look for ways to exchange value to keep moving things along. And again, and as you get your credit up and you're able to use money, even if you have a convertible loan, a note, where, you can have money float you for a little bit so you can pay it back with some interest. Those are good options down the road as well. But the more equity you can keep in your business, the better you're going to be off in the long run, giving you more options.
Yeah.
And then, like, guys, one thing that I always talk about too, it's like you don't need a lot of people out there, like, you don't need more information. A lot of you guys, what you need is implementation. This is something that I wish people would push on me early on in my own career. Literally get out there, implement. You guys are already great at something. You have something, you have greatness within you, right? Somebody stole this line from the Bible, but we all have it, right? Like I told my story yesterday, I started selling that bread at age 7. I was hungry. Like, you got to be hungry again. Go back. I often, when I'm talking to celebrities and athletes and they suicidal and they depressed and they want to kill themselves, and I was like, you guys lost that fire, that spark when you were in the audition line, when you were bringing that tape, that cassette. All my old friends in the room, when you are going to Sony and dropping that cassette, that tape for them to give you a shout out, when you are driving or flying here to Silicon Valley and talking to the guys over here in Mountain View, in Palo Alto, in San Francisco, to talk about your grand idea, your business. Never lose that spark, right? You're behind your goals, you need some money for the cause. You are working on something, right? Ask yourself, how can I double down my efforts today? How can I double down on my marketing activities today? Right? Go for the nose. Make a few more calls. Wake up a little earlier. Go to sleep a little later. Bring the sparkness. Know that's temporary. I know it sucks. Nobody likes it, right? Wake up earlier, go to sleep later, double down, call more people, message more people, get more rejected, whatever the case may be. I often tell our clients, go ahead, learn how to speak on stages, how to communicate, book more gigs so that you can be more exposed. Now you have larger amounts of people watching you, listening to you. Document the process, put it out there. Nobody can question your integrity or your rules. Just go for the no and be hungrier than ever, but just double down. Every time, oh, I'm low on cash, I don't have the money, I don't have the resources. If you see yourself on that pattern, how can I double down my efforts right now, my marketing today? The number of people that I'm calling to raise money, the number of meetups that I am going, the number of podcasts and stages that I am applying it. Just double down and go for the no. And I promise you, a little boy selling bread at age 7 with nothing but to leave the favelas in the hood, I know you can do it. I know you can do it. We've seen all the time a lot of kids out there and teenagers giving the celebrities a run for their money, right? Because now the internet, anybody can build a following, anybody can build a story, tell a story, document something, create your own movie, be your own movie, be that person you want others to see. Be the one that you wanted to see in the mirror. Be the one that you wanted to love the most. Be the one, the business that when you think about that business, when you go to that business, when they know that you are coming to their business to speak, to interview, to do something, light up their eyes. You light up that sparkle in them. Become that person, and I promise you, my friend, life will never be the same. Let's get out there. Let's make magic happen. You deserve more.
Love it. Amazing. You guys have shared so much value and inspiration. I'm so grateful for your knowledge and being here today to share it. For anyone listening, as you can see in the chat, everyone's so appreciative for this valuable talk. And if you guys are looking, one, for even public speaking, Carlos and Chris, go check them out. Also, Carlos for life insurance information, Chris for business expertise, strategy. Bob has a free kind of test, I think you can go in his website to check. I believe it's like what kind of funding you can get. So you can do a little free. Maybe you want to talk about that, Bob. I
Is
feel like I butchered that.
just it's a free business success scan. We talked a little about it earlier, right? Fill out the forms, go through, it'll give you a good idea where you are in credit. Even when you're going to your Experian and all that type of stuff to go get your credit scores, you don't need to. If you go through my test, all right, or go through the little piece and get your login and all that stuff, I can put you through a company where it'll cost you $1. Yep, charge $1. We'll grab all your credit information at once, okay, and we'll have a really good picture of where you're at.
Amazing. Well, be sure to add them. And we have more powerful panels coming up. We've got our wellness panel, we have our content creation panel, and then our high performing teams, all full of incredible experts. Some of them all know each other. So like Corey Warfield, I think you guys all know him. He's on our content creator panel. Craig Bruce is going to be on our wellness panel, who worked with
I know
Chris
Craig
on
really
business
well.
strategy.
Say hi to Craig
Yeah,
for me. And Corey.
I will. Yes, definitely will. Well, thank you guys. And for everyone, thank you. Thank you. For everyone listening, we are going to take, so the next panel starts at 12:45. So a 40-minute break. I'm going to grab a little bit of food because we've been going for the last 3 hours straight. But we'll keep the deck up with some music playing, and then we'll be back live at 12:45. So I hope to see you guys all here. Thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it.